Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Mark Talks Rubbish about his stuff. This one is number 96. I'm going to start off with a bit of admin today. Today is the 13th of May, 2021. It's a Thursday, and as summer is on its way, you will see from the background here that we have taken the unusual and unprecedented step of having daylight. Normally I do these after the sun has gone down, but now the sun goes down about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It's considerably easier to do it during the daylight. I've chosen this, the golden hour, for the most dramatic lighting. Actually, that's complete nonsense. I've chosen it because I never know what I'm going to do next. My brain kind of fertiles around some ideas, and today it went, Mark, there's two things which we're going to talk about. First one, I'm going to do some admin. Second one, I'm going to be talking about bootleg t-shirts and telling you stories about my favourite bootleg t-shirts and the shows that went with them. First and foremost, I can't believe I have to say this, but as a general reminder, I do have a policy around comments. It's very simple. Talk shit and get banned. There, 5 words to remember. If you're going to barge into my comment section, you're going to call people names. You're going to be generally unpleasant and argumentative. You're going to get blocked. The comment's going to get eaten. They're going to disappear, and you'll be a man on his own talking to himself. The other one is about, just generally just play nice. Yeah, play nice, be good. I try really, really hard not to say negative things about people on here. Occasionally I have done. To be honest, I think they deserved it. The second thing about that is if you're going to be argumentative, troublesome, bothersome, abusive, insulting, anything like that, I have a bunch of trigger words. YouTube swallows those words. Nobody ever sees them but yourself. And the other thing, actually, which I probably should mention, is some people think that I'm opinionated. Well, if you're into the bootleg t-shirt stuff, come back in about 5 minutes, I think. Yes, I am opinionated. From a very early age, I have had to be quite vocal about my identity and my opinions. Reason being is I am a twin, and being a twin, especially in the 70s, meant that somehow people thought that you couldn't exist as your own separate person or entity or identity, that somehow you were two parts of one whole and that you were a half, and without the other half you were incomplete. And so therefore, when I was younger, my opinions weren't taken into account. I wasn't given a name as such. I was more referred to as Twinny by people that were lazy and boring and stupid people. Yes, that's where I will insult people, by the way. And so what I learned was that I had to be quite vocal and had to be quite assertive in stating my opinions. Otherwise, I would get overlooked, sidelined, and ignored. Now, about 24 years ago, I worked with an absolute idiot, who I will not name, who, when they came out with something that was demonstrably horseshit, read the look on my face and told me that silence is assent. And silence is not assent. But what I have had to become is quite vocal and quite clear around my opinions, my positions, and the things I believe in and why I believe in them. Which is why I'm talking to a mobile phone about stuff. Because otherwise, what would have happened then at that point is that people would have, not been able to tell me and him apart. We were dressed in similar clothing, which I didn't have a choice about. We had similar glasses, which I didn't have a choice about. We looked similar, which we didn't have a choice about. And because people have small brains, they couldn't necessarily differentiate between, one twin and the other twin. We were just a twin, as if somehow I was responsible for his actions and he was responsible for mine. And when he was a teenager and we'd go on holiday, and we had to kind of spend 2 weeks living in the same room in a hotel as the temperatures hit 110. Not my idea of fun at all. There'd be arguments, and I was, far more placid, I think, generally speaking, around things. But there'd be arguments, there'd be screaming that the people that went to clean the hotel rooms wouldn't be able to clean the hotel rooms because he'd be shouting and effing and jeffing and all that stuff, and he was 14, and I'd be sat on the balcony reading a book just going, God, I hate this. This is awful. It's just boring. Whilst he was, losing his temper about God knows what. I don't even remember what it was now, to be honest. And the hotel cleaner would come in after, and I'd just get off some really kind, and I'd be like, I'm not him. I'm not that dude. I'm a completely different dude with completely different ideas. And yes, I'm not overjoyed either about the fact that he was swearing or shouting or generally disturbing the peace. I was not happy about that at all. But somehow my Spanish was very limited, and so I wasn't able to express that. But I did say, look, I'm not him. And this happened many, many times. At least once on every foreign holiday I had to go to with my parents and my brother. There'd be at least one screaming fit, and there'd be at least one time when the hotel cleaner and staff would tell me off for the stuff he'd done. So I've had to become quite vocal and quite assertive in going, look, I'm me. I have my own identity, my own opinions, and sometimes he says stuff that is daft, stupid, generally argumentative. And sometimes on Twitter I'll just come out and I'll tweet him and go, dude, you don't have to argue with absolutely everybody on Twitter, okay? There is no need to do that. And despite what some people may think, I'm not actually argumentative at all. I don't want to argue with anybody ever about anything. It's really exhausting arguing. But at the same point, I have things that I believe in and things I believe strongly about, and I'm not going to roll over and play dead. I'm not going to let other people think or do certain things. If I have the opinion that that's perhaps not the best thing to do. There is a phrase which, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything, or if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And certainly that's how I believe. And so I've had to, I've got clear boundaries and I've got opinions, and of course we're better as a platform to put your opinions than to talk to your mobile phone and to stick them on YouTube. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of other places to put them. And sometimes being opinionated or having views and not being afraid to say them, because I had to learn to be assertive in my opinions, because otherwise people would make assumptions and make decisions for me and not realise I had a brain and mind of my own. I had to, I got a reputation for being a troublemaker. I was like, dude, I don't want trouble. I'm just pointing out things that you may not have seen about certain situations. I've kind of looked at perhaps certain ideas around work things and went, I don't think that's going to work, or exposing us to a certain degree of risk, and that's part of my duty of care, is to be able to point out to people certain things like, if we do this, that might happen. I remember having a conversation with somebody in the office once about, asbestos. And they just couldn't understand why it was important to treat asbestos correctly. I'm like, what happens if somebody's working on a project and we don't have adequate health and safety, and they get asbestos in their lungs and it gives them cancer and they die? And the answer was, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you're not very good at your job, are you? Was what I was thinking. But I instead said, no, we need to think much more seriously about that. So anyway, that's 8 minutes of me talking about my opinions and why I have them. It's been a part of me since I was very young, and it will continue to be so. So if you think I'm a right twat or something along those lines, well, you're entitled to think that. I happen to disagree with you. But I'm not going to change. I am who I am, and we've got to learn to accept who we are and make who we are someone that we are, comfortable with. And I would rather be me than anybody else, which is good because I don't get a choice. None of us do. Right, 9 minutes in. Instead, I'm going to start talking about bootleg t-shirts. I've given you a tour of my favourite band t-shirts way back about 2, 3, 4 months ago now. And today, instead, I'm going to go on to the unofficial merchandise. Now, I must admit, I really, really miss buying bootleg t-shirts. I miss buying t-shirts. I miss going to gigs. I miss leaving the house. I miss talking to other human beings. I miss having a drink. I miss jumping up and down and shouting all the words wrong and go, oh my God, I'm in the same room as the people that wrote the song that changed my life. Like I was thinking about this yesterday. I was watching Pet Shop Boys at the Royal Albert Hall on YouTube. I'll post a link to the show down there. I've been incredibly lucky to be able to live at the same time as artists whose work I really, really enjoy, to be able to go and see them perform these songs, and to be able to be in a room and go, these are my people. These people feel the same way about the things I do. And so, you can wear clothes. You have to wear clothes, right? I like wearing band t-shirts because I like signalling the music that I like. The associated things that go with that, like ethics, ethos, morality, taste, all that type of stuff. And also, if I'm going to wear clothes, might as well wear clothes that have some meaning to me. So bootleg t-shirts. Now, I have over the years been through a great number of t-shirts. I haven't counted how many band t-shirts. I've got quite a lot of them. And generally I've come out of shows and I've either bought a new t-shirt or I buy one from the dodgy guys outside. And the reason I buy one from the dodgy guys outside is sometimes because I haven't got very much money. Sometimes I don't like the official designs. Sometimes I come out of the show and realise I'm much, much hotter than I originally anticipated and I need to change into something else. This is the first one of the bootleg t-shirts that I've still got. I've sold a huge number of them on eBay, by the way, over the years. I sold some suede ones for something like £200, which was astronomical, but it helped me at a time that I needed help. This is the first one which I'm going to talk about today, which is the Stone Roses Second Coming Tour bootleg t-shirt. I bought this outside the Wolverhampton Civic Hall. I think it was the 28th of November 1995. It was an incredibly warm day, and that day, well, more correctly, it was a very, very cold day, but it was an incredibly warm gig. And it was the second show on the Stone Roses first 1995 tour to support the Second Coming album. And that was I never thought I'd get to see the Stone Roses. There was a thing about the Stone Roses, is that they were notoriously hit and miss, and often miss live. This is the back of the shirt. As you can see, the tour dates are on the back. Stone Roses didn't do tour date t-shirts at the time. And this cherub here is taken from the bridge in Newport in Wales. So it's carved onto the bridge in Newport that crosses the river, as I understand it. But this was £5 whole from a bootleg dude outside the Wolverhampton Civic Hall on the, let's just check, Thursday the 30th of November 1995. My memories about that show are threefold. My mother had just died, and just over a month before, so I was really working through some issues relating to that. The second one was I had an incredible sore throat, like a really, really bad cold, possibly even flu, but I was like, it just started. Because when you go through trauma, when you work particularly hard, when you have really difficult times, what you find is that your body and your immune system takes a battering. And the third one was, I seem to remember that during the acoustic section where they did Your Star Will Shine and Tightrope, I remember watching a butterfly. I had no idea how a butterfly had even survived, let alone got into the Wolverhampton Civic Hall, do acrobatics over the stage whilst the Stone Roses were singing the songs. And I was like, my God, that's quite an experience. Anyway, this t-shirt, the thing is, if you saw this t-shirt, you wouldn't go, that's a bootleg. You wouldn't go, oh, they've got the wrong lineup of the band or the wrong logo, or it looks cheap or something. This looks like it could be an official t-shirt. And that's one of the things about what makes a good bootleg t-shirt a good bootleg t-shirt, is it looks like it could have been made and officially sanctioned by the band. And sometimes the bootleg t-shirts are better, even better in fact, than the real thing, as we will see when we get to U2's 2018 tour, which I haven't got any t-shirts because I'm trying to limit it to 1 or 2 per band here, by the way. So that's the Stone Roses, and that's the Love Spread's Second Coming tour t-shirt. £5 well spent. It's probably cost me about 20p per year since then. This is the second bootleg t-shirt. I will never sell this. This is the New Order Apollo 16 t-shirt, which I mentioned I think in episode 91 when I saw New Order's first comeback reunion show at the Manchester Apollo on the 16th of July 1998, which is still easily in my top 5 shows, probably my top 3 of all time ever by anyone. And I should at some point do an episode where I rank the gigs that I've been to and what's in my top 10. And if I haven't done that already, I will do it some other time. But this show was phenomenal. It was like seeing God herself come down from heaven and tell you that everything that you ever believed in, choirs of angels, kittens, and shafts of light, light, providing revelation and joy and disco music. All those things happened at this show. And I bought three official t-shirts, by the way, for £20 each. It was quite expensive, but how often did you get a chance to buy an official New Order t-shirt or an official Joy Division t-shirt? Not very, at least not in those days. And we came out of the show and we were buzzing on this incredible high. You know, we'd just seen New Order play their first show for 5 years. We'd just seen them play at the Manchester Apollo, and they played 6 Joy Division songs that they haven't played before, and they brought back songs they hadn't played for well over a decade. You know, it was a gig of dreams. We came out and we were into this, you know, boiling hot July day. The street was absolutely teeming. T-shirt guys were everywhere, and they were selling these T-shirts, New Order Apollo 16. They're also selling football shirts, which were adapted from the French 1998, I think it's the European Cup, which they'd actually overprinted some of the, you know, the Euro 98 logo with the New Order one, so it looked like a New Order football T-shirt. Bought that as well. Sold that one later for over £100. But this one, £5, coming out of what was at that point in my life easily the best gig I'd ever been to, and certainly remains in my top 5. I think it's in my top 3 actually, still to this day. So the next one, and by the way, I'll show you the back of the New Order Apollo 16 t-shirt there. The next one is perhaps REM. Well, yes, this is an REM Up tour. Unofficial t-shirt, which I bought. I think I bought this outside the Manchester Evening News Arena, as it was called, which is now probably called something else. I think it was called the 9X at the time, and I was really pleased to be able to get to see this. It was Saturday. I think, again, it was something like the 16th of July, 1999, and I got to see REM. Now, I hadn't seen REM up to the 1999 tour. I had tickets to see them at the Wembley Arena in 1998. On the 1995, I had tickets to see REM on the Aneurysm tour, but sadly Bill Berry got an aneurysm. They cancelled the indoor shows. They never rescheduled those shows, so they never came back. So I never got to see REM with Bill Berry. Instead, I had to wait an extra 4 years, but eventually I got to see REM on the Up tour. And the Up album is an album that I love dearly. I think the world of it is really, really good. Very, very underrated. And I bought this, and hang on a second, it will just say at the Manchester Evening News Arena on the 17th of July 1998. This t-shirt was sold in Manchester and at Stirling Castle in Scotland in July. The Stirling Castle show is available in part on the Perfect Square DVD under the documentary title A Sterling Performance. But, you know, this just, and I loved the visual imagery and the iconography that they had on this particular tour. It just felt lovely and bright and warm. But this looks like it could have been an official REM t-shirt. And I've kept it ever since, which has been 22 years now. And I just couldn't believe I was seeing REM. The second one, I'm breaking my rule of only having one bootleg t-shirt per band, because in fact I've got 3 REM ones. This is an orange one that I paid £5 for outside London's Brixton Academy in June 2003. In 2003, the band were touring the In Time album, which was the first greatest hits tour that they did. And they interrupted recording of the Around the Sun album to tour. And so they played 3 warm-up shows, and then they went into festivals. And I think the warm-up shows were Amsterdam or Rotterdam, and then Brixton were shows 2 and 3, with Bill Riflin, the sorely missed Bill Riflin, on drums. And Bill used to be in the Revolting Cocks and Ministry, later went into play with King Crimson. Incredible drummer. REM chose absolutely 100% the right guy to replace Bill Berry there. I think the previous replacement drummer, Joey Ronka, wasn't so good, but he fits in far better with Roger Waters' band, which is where he's playing now. So this is bootleg tee, again £5 outside the London Brixton Academy in June 2003. This show they played, I think, the first 4 songs off Life's Rich Pageant in order, including Life Is How to Live It, for the first time in something like 20 years. This is the back of the t-shirt. Again, it's just a very basic list of dates and locations. I didn't see them at Manchester's Old Trafford that summer, but somebody else did. But again, it looks like it could have been an official t-shirt. And this one looks like it could have been an official t-shirt as well. So this is the first of a number of Kraftwerk appearances that we've got. So I bought this outside the Royal Festival Hall in, I think, 18th of March 2004, which I think was the first of the London shows promoting the last studio album, Tour de France, which was also the last set of shows which I saw Kraftwerk with Florian in the band. And we went to see the Royal Festival Hall show, and we were split up because the demand for the show was so huge. There was one seat on its own in the, probably like row G, right at the edge. And then my friends were up in one of the other seats on the side, in 3 seats that were together. We couldn't get 4 together. And they were playing Tour de France, and I was like, really need to go to the Wii, because I haven't seen my friends for a while. We had a couple of drinks, went to see Kraftwerk, and then when I came back, I thought, there's nothing actually stopping me from going down and standing at the front in the section. So I just stood, in the front. Most people were seated, they were stroking their chins. Oh, it's lovely, it's Kraftwerk. I'm like, fucking Kraftwerk, mate. It's one of the best bands of all time. And they're right in front of you. Don't sit down. I just stood there there's probably about 10 feet between the first seat and the stage. And I just stood in that 10-foot gap. And I just stood and I danced, and nobody said anything, and nobody told me off, and no security guards came down to tell me not to do it. And over time, people started to join me. I remember I was standing over at Florian's side. I took lots of photographs in a very old crappy camera phone, which I can't even get anymore. It doesn't even switch on. And I was like, I'm stood like 3 feet away from Kraftwerk, and they're incredible. And over the course of the show, probably about 100, 200 people came down to join me, stroke us, as we were just watching Kraftwerk in the standing section there at the front. And I remember I looked over and Square Pusher was there dancing, and I was like, he's just a fan with a fan's courage. But afterwards we came out of the show, and there were lots of bootleg t-shirts for sale. This one here I looked at and I thought, this is the thing, you come out of a show and maybe you don't like the official shirts, maybe the queue is absolutely huge, maybe you're just going, I wonder what else they've got, and you look at it, and for a fraction of a second you have to make a split-second decision with a bootleg t-shirt, because that's pretty much all the time you've got, because you've got a very small window between the end of the show and when you have to get home, and any trains that you need to get in order to do it. And I made a split-second decision. I like that one. I'll have that one. I think this was the first one that was £10, actually. And I was like, inflation. But then, bootleg t-shirts had been £5 since 1990. So it was about time, really, that t-shirts went up in value. And this one, the first of the Cure ones, which you're going to see, is the Cure's 4 tour 2008. So this was the tour to promote what is still to date the band's most recent studio album, 413 Dream. And this one I bought outside Wembley Arena on the 20th of March 2008. And at the time the band were doing very, very, very long shows. So I remember I texted a friend who I was meant to stay over at my friend's house. That fell through during the gig, so I had to text another friend and go, can I stay on your couch, because the Cure are still playing and I'm probably not going to get the last train. And so by the time that I got out of the venue, which was Wembley Arena, it was about 20 past 11, and my last train was 20 to 12, and my last train was more than 20 minutes away. So I already knew I had to stay on my friend's couch at short notice, and thank God I was able to do it, because otherwise I'd have just had to leave during the show. They played this enormous 40-song set. I remember they ended with Grinding Halt, Jumping Someone Else's Train, Boys Don't Cry, 10:15 Saturday Night, Killing an Arab, and you could just see the whole room was just bouncing and just going, we just fucking love this band, and we don't care if they have hits or not, we love them. And so I came out of Wembley Arena, and I don't think I liked any of the official t-shirts, so I bought this one instead. This one was again £10 thanks to inflation. But as you can see, it looks like it could be an official T-shirt, and this is one of the things. Actually, there's some copyright law around passing off. So if you go to a bootleg, or if you buy a bootleg T-shirt, if you see a guy selling unofficial T-shirts after a show, those goods can be confiscated for 48 hours by the police, and then released if it proves that they don't contravene the Copyright Act. There is a theory around a thing called a moron in a hurry, and with a moron in a hurry, what you have to do is when someone's selling something that's a counterfeit piece of goods, it needs to pass the test, which is, could it reasonably convince a moron in a hurry that it was legitimate and real? Now, you could look at this and you could go, that looks like it could be an official Kraftwerk T-shirt. You know, this one looks like it could be an official REM T-shirt. This one, again, looks like it could be an official REM T-shirt. So these could pass. These could contravene the Copyright Act and be regarded as falling a moron in a hurry. I'll have to look up the case law around that and post a link to it. But effectively, passing off, it goes for things like counterfeit football shirts, bootleg band T-shirts, mobile phones that say Samsung when they aren't Samsung, iPods or iPads which clearly are made by somebody else, maybe called the iPid or something, those type of things, or maybe a games console that's crap that's called a PlayStation. It's that kind of stuff, and I think the moron in a hurry test is really, really important when it comes to testing intellectual copyright, because if it can fool you and you're in a hurry and you're not paying a huge amount of attention, it can fool you into thinking it's the real thing when you look at it, then it contravenes the band's trademarks and copyrighted, patented, branding, and so therefore, if you find a bootleg T-shirt out of a show, it means two things. Firstly, it's actually a bit of a compliment, because it means that the bootleggers think that the bands are still worth making money out of. The second one is it could contravene the Copyright Act, and so you generally don't tend to see them very often. They tend to get confiscated, and there's certain venues where they always get confiscated. It's the O2 Arena in London. Never seen bootleg T-shirts outside there, because the only thing that's around there is the tube station, so it's tightly controlled. Wembley Arena is a far more public venue, so it's far easier. Brixton Academy, for example, what you'll find is people will actually be standing outside the tube stations as opposed to standing right outside the gigs sometimes. So you'll come out of a show, let's say you go to the Kentish Town Forum or the Town and Country Club as it's known. Sometimes the guys aren't selling the T-shirts outside the venue. They're selling them outside the tube station that's 100 yards down the road, because they figure everyone's going to have a drink and they're going to have to get the tube home. Right, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to put on some more and extra T-shirts now, and I will come back to you in a moment and continue my tour of the other bootleg T-shirts that I'm particularly keen on. Hang on, I'll be right back. Right, hopefully the light hasn't changed too dramatically, although it will still look a little bit like I'm sitting in the dark, so I might get up and put the light on later on. I have changed into yet another assortment of T-shirts, and so this one was bought outside Twickenham Stadium in August 2008, and what I've suddenly realised is it's far too dark for you to see any of the detail, so instead I'm going to go and switch the light on. Now this T-shirt was sold outside Twickenham Stadium and a number of stadium shows on REM's last 2008 tour. And 2008, by the way, in terms of REM tours, was the last time that the band played publicly and live, and I saw them twice. We saw them twice on that particular tour. We saw them at the Albert Hall in early March, and we saw them in August. I think it was the 30th of August. Editors supported at Twickenham Stadium, which was a great show. Really long, massive show, but it wasn't sold out. So they sold maybe 40,000 tickets to 70,000 capacity. So the upper tier of Twickenham wasn't sold at all. And where Twickenham is a transport desert. There is nothing nearby really. It's a suburb. Even the nearest train station is a 15-minute walk away. And they do not necessarily put on extra trains when they have a stadium show at Twickenham. So when I saw Metallica at Twickenham, I left just as they finished the main set, thankfully with Enter Sandman. But what it meant was I had to leave before the end of the show in order to get the last train home, because you have to walk 15 minutes, then you have to get on a train. Then the train takes half an hour to get into London city centre. And then if you're me, you then have to get across London to get another train to get home. So I got home at about 1 o'clock in the morning. It's pretty weird, actually, and I didn't like leaving before the end of the show, especially if you've paid for it. So for Twickenham, for 2008, when we saw REM, we left during the last song, and the last song was Man on the Moon. So during the course of the song, we moved towards the back, and we stood at the back of the stadium, had a lovely drunken dance, sang Man on the Moon to each other, and then we quite literally kind of like just exited the stadium. And as soon as we exited out of the stadium, some guy went, "T-shirt," and I looked at it and I went, "Yeah, it's really good. I'll have one." Bought it, and like 3 seconds later, the police came up and they confiscated all of his T-shirts, which means I have no idea how many of these T-shirts were sold, and I have no idea how many of them are out there circulating in the world. But I really like it. This looks like, again, it could be an official REM T-shirt, and I'm going to take the T-shirt off, hopefully not tearing any of my garments in the process, and show you what's on the back, which, if I remember rightly, is a picture of some buildings and some guys called Peter, Mike, and Peter. No, they're Mike, Michael, and Peter. They're REM 2008 with the stadium tours on the back. This one I particularly love. This I bought outside Rome's Stadio Olimpico in July 2013, which cost me, I think, €10. The temperature was absolutely fucking absurd. It was something like 100 degrees. The 3 hottest gigs of my life have been PJ Harvey at Brixton Academy in the middle of June 2004, Depeche Mode in Rome, and The Cure at Hyde Park. This one just looks really lovely, and it looks better actually than the official Depeche Mode t-shirts, because it doesn't have a picture of bored millionaires on it. Now this one just has, and I'll just open it up here actually. If you look, it's got the DM logo. It's got the DM logo ever so slightly at an angle, but again, if you look at it, it's not just grey, it's multitudes of grey, so there's lots of different shades of grey inside that to reflect stonework. And then on the back, Milan and Rome in Italian there. It was 10 euros, well spent, I think. This one I'm going to have to stand up to show you. This is a Roger Waters t-shirt from the Wall Tour, which I saw him at Wembley Stadium. Much as I love Pink Floyd and Roger Waters, they do the same show with the same songs in the same order, 114 shows in a row. I don't see any point seeing more than one show, so we went to see Roger at Wembley Stadium, thinking that if David Gilmour is going to make a guest appearance at any one of the shows, it's going to be Wembley Stadium. We were wrong, he didn't, but we still had a great time watching Roger Waters perform The Wall at Wembley Stadium. And this is just a great little design. It looks like it could be, again, could be an official one. It's probably based on an official design. But you look at it, there's something about it. It doesn't scream bootleg shit that you've bought outside the venue. It looks fitting. And on the back, it's got Roger Waters, The Wall Live. Again, using the right fonts and typography, which is an important thing when it comes to bootleg t-shirts, and a list of cities in order. This one, Kraftwerk, from the most recent time that I saw them, 2017, at the Royal Albert Hall. And again, I'm going to have to show you that design. Their iconography works very, very well for an official t-shirt. This was £10 outside the venue. And I'm going to have to take it off to show you the back. But there is nothing about this that screams cheap knockoff shit, which is really, really important. And by the way, I did buy lots of Kraftwerk t-shirts at the time, so don't get antsy at me. I'm not taking money out of the band's pockets. All these bands have had lots and lots of my money, and I've all bought plenty of their official t-shirts and records. And this is the list of 3D concerts on the back of the Kraftwerk t-shirt. And again, the fonts and stuff are correct. You know, it looks like it could be the real thing. Luckily, I'm not a moron, but sometimes I am in a hurry, and I'm not going to say that I'm full. This one here is particularly special for me. It is the Cure's 40th anniversary show at Hyde Park. This is an unofficial t-shirt, again, like all of the ones which I'm talking about so far today. This one cost me £10 outside the venue. I bought this t-shirt for one incredibly simple reason, which was it was incredibly warm. that day. It was the hottest, longest, most exhausting show I've ever been at. I got to see every band on every stage for at least a few minutes, and there were 3 stages. All the way through the show, I was just running back and forth, up and down to see all the bands, because all the bill was hand curated and hand picked by Robert Smith and The Cure. Robert Smith has fantastic taste in music, and so therefore I wanted to see almost all of the bands that were on, and I got to see them all. Now, I didn't buy an official t-shirt because the queue for the official t-shirts was 25 to 30 minutes long. So before The Cure came on stage, they came on stage at 8:30. At 8 o'clock, I joined the queue thinking, oh, I'll buy a t-shirt. I want to wear something that's not incredibly warm, that I've sweated, because I was quite literally dripping like I'd been in a sauna being at that gig. And it was so warm. And I heard the chimes of playing songs starting behind me, and I thought, I've got 2 minutes to get into the section at the front of the stage so I can see The Cure. It's going to take me more than 2 minutes to buy a Cure t-shirt. I'd rather see the band than get the t-shirt of the band, because I've got enough Cure t-shirts. I might buy one after. By the end of the show, which was about 10:30, 11 o'clock, the t-shirts had sold out. It was incredibly warm. I was really sweaty. I just wanted to go home, sit down, have an ice cream and a glass of water that was cold. And on the way out, I saw a guy selling t-shirts, and I was just, my t-shirt was so wet and sweaty and horrible, and yeah, to put it technically, I bought this t-shirt just so I could wear something that wasn't really, really sweaty. So here's the Cure at Hyde Park, and on the back it's got a list of the bands, including the Twilight Sad, who I absolutely love, and I will talk to anybody endlessly about them for hours. Inevitably I will get to talk about them at some point when I do these. We're coming into the end now. This is a New Order t-shirt. I bought this at the last time I saw New Order, which was the 9th of November 2018, which was at the London Alexandra Palace. The acoustics at Alexandra Palace are notoriously bad. They are terrible unless you're right down the front. And so I tried to brave it out with my friends, but then when New Order started playing songs, I just wanted to dance and I wanted to be near the good sound. I just ran down to the front and I bounced up and down, and I jumped and I sang better than Bernard did. The show is now on DVD, Blu-ray, CD, LP, box set, no doubt, cassette tape, or some other bizarre format where you can hear for yourself the evidence of the show. But this t-shirt is the wireframe design of True Faith, which was done in 2006 for the Singles album, and it just looks like it could be a proper U2 shirt, and that's no, proper New Order shirt. Sorry guys, you'll never forgive me for that. But again, £10 outside the venue, and the official t-shirts had sold out, so I couldn't do those. So what we have here, in fact, is there's the front, and here is the back that says November 09, Alexandra Palace, London. I wore this t-shirt, the white one, when I went to see New Order perform. When I went to see U2 perform in Berlin on the 30th of November 2018, which was the last show of the European leg of the Experience and Innocence tour, and is to date the last U2 show in Europe. I'm going to highlight 3 unofficial U2 t-shirts I bought during the course of that t-shirt tour, because they are really good designs. They're certainly better than the official designs. This is one of them. It's just a grey with U2, i.e. Experience and Innocence on, and on the back it's got the world tour dates on here, which end in Dublin, because at the time that these t-shirts were printed, the final makeup show in Berlin on the 13th of November hadn't yet been announced. There's two official t-shirts, which I think are probably the laziest and most awful U2 t-shirts that have been done an incredibly long time. I'll post a link to them later. This is a blue variant of the design, which I bought at the show in Manchester on the 20th of October 2018. Brilliant show, and again it's got the Experience of Innocence design on there. and on the back it's got the European tour dates on here. And again, you could look at that and you go, that looks like it's an official U2 t-shirt. This isn't an official U2 t-shirt. This is perhaps somewhat bizarrely not even a U2 t-shirt, even though it says U2 on it. This t-shirt I bought from I bought next to the Berlin Transport Museum in September 2018, and the reason I bought it was in Berlin, the underground lines are given numbers: U1, U2, U3, U4, and on the U2 line there is a station called Zoo Station, and so therefore U2 Zoo Station is just such a wonderful piece of providence and coincidence that I couldn't really resist it. I saw this next to the Berlin Transport Museum and I thought, oh, that's nice. That's really nice. It's cheeky. It's really cheeky, but also it's very specific to Berlin. And Berlin being a city of great importance to U2 because it's where they recorded Achtung Baby, where they recorded parts of Europa. It's where they also played their, to date, the final European U2 show. And I saw it and I thought, it's cheeky and it's geeky and it's a little bit nerdy, and it also ties in with the whole thing about trains. And if you like trains, and hey, come on, I'm a bloke, we like trains and machines and planes and automobiles and things that get ping and gigantic. What's the world's biggest digger, for example? Those type of things. That's the stuff that gets some of us interested. And I just saw it and I thought it's a really cheeky piece of merchandising, actually. And obviously it's not a U2 t-shirt. It's advertising the U2 metro line in Berlin, the metro line that has the Zoo Station on it. But I saw it and I could not resist. And so that is where I'm going to end up. Hopefully, this has been not too boring. Giving you a tour of all my lovely bootleg t-shirts, all my favourite ones. I should say, of course, always buy the official stuff. First and foremost, unless the official stuff is terrible or the queue is too long or you just don't like it. And let me just kind of point out that, as you can probably tell by the view behind me, I have a lot of official stuff. So the bands are making plenty of money out of me, and long may it contain, because what's really, really important is we have to support the bands and the artists that we love. We have to give them our money, because otherwise they're going to stop and they're going to have to get jobs, and there's going to be no more art. And a world without art, an earth without art, is just and that is no good for anyone. Art has changed and saved my life. It has made me a complete human being, and it has been a friend when I've had no friends. It's provided hope when I've had no hope. It's given me a map when I was lost in the world. Support the bands that you love. Buy their stuff, buy their records, buy their t-shirts, buy their hats, buy their chewing gum if that's what you really, really want to do. Whatever it is, if you find something, if you find art that you love, support it, nurture it, and let it grow. Because without people, without fans, art and artists are going to have to cease to exist. And I do not believe that the current government in the UK are treating art and artists correctly. Because if I recall correctly, what one of the people in government said was, fuck the ballerinas, they can go to the back of the queue. And let me just tell you this, is that without art, I would not be here today. It saved my life. Thank you for your time. As I've mentioned at the beginning of this, be nice or be gone in the credits and the comments. Stay beautiful, and I will catch up with you some other time. In the meantime, I have a very serious appointment downstairs with a sofa and some crisps. Take care of yourselves and each other. See you all again soon. Bye.